Hi, everyone, and welcome to Freckles and Blondie, the podcast where we fight about Jack and Sawyer, which I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of tonight.
No, not at all.
I'm Randi.
I'm Tiffany, Team Sawyer.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. And today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 16, which is entitled Outlaws. This episode was directed by Jack Bender. He previously directed Whatever the Case May Be, The Moth, Walkabout, and Tabula Rasa.
Man, that's a portfolio right there.
For real. He's like their go-to director now, I feel like.
Yeah. Good episodes.
Mm-hmm. The episode was written by Drew Goddard, who, according to Wikipedia, was also a staff writer on Buffy and Angel.
Man.
So, I know, just continuing with the Buffy and Lost crossovers here.
That is so cool. I just never knew this before, and now I'm just so happy.
Yeah. It's like two of my most favorite shows.
Yeah.
And the episode originally aired on February 16th, 2005. So this episode is all about Sawyer, in case you didn't know.
Woot woot.
So is this one of your favorite episodes?
I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite episodes, though all Sawyer episodes are kind of at the top.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But, you know, I don't think it's as good as Confidence Man. I think that one's definitely stronger.
Yeah, that one's a lot more controversial.
Yeah. Confidence Man is very intense.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the revelation of Sawyer's past is intense just in itself. So I feel like this one expands and kind of gives you details. Some people's backstories are kind of like how they started, and some people's, so far here in season 1, are like why they were in Australia.
Right.
So I feel like this is Sawyer's why he was in Australia episode.
Yeah, it's like we don't really get a lot more depth into his character, but you're right, we do go into the reason he was in Sydney.
Yeah, I think we get more depth in his character, I think, but I guess, yeah, not more on like his backstory and like what made him who he is.
Right, right.
I think a lot of this episode is just like answering the question of, is Sawyer a killer or is he not? Mm-hmm. They hit that beat a lot.
Yeah, they do. I don't know. This episode is okay.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but I think the metaphor with the boar is a little weak.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's not, it feels like it's supposed to be very profound, but I don't really get it.
But because it's a boar, it comes off like comical.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to take it seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we had Jack, his white rabbit trip where he was chasing his father around through the jungle. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is Sawyer's version of that.
Right.
But it's hard to like put it in that same league when he's chasing a boar.
Right. He's like so upset about it. It's interesting.
Right. And it's definitely supposed to be a metaphor, like you said, but it would have been nice if it had been, I don't know, a little more intense.
Yeah.
Not to discount boars. I mean, Locke has scared us all about all the dangers of boars. But
right. It doesn't feel as, like you said, it doesn't feel as intense as it should be for this kind of thing.
Especially for a Sawyer episode.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, he brings a lot of intensity. That's what his character does. So to have him kind of like chasing this boar in this kind of slapstick comedy way, it's, I don't know, it subverts his whole thing.
Yeah, it makes it less meaningful to me.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Oh, but yeah, should we get into the episode?
Let's do it. I feel like I say that every time.
Yeah.
I'm just so jazzed every time.
Yeah, especially this week.
Yes, always.
All right. Previously on Lost, Jack told a board of directors that his dad was an alcoholic, and Kate found out that Sawyer was actually the victim of a con artist when he was a kid. We opened in a flashback, or a dream, as we later find out. There's a shot of young Sawyer's eye. His mom runs into his bedroom while his dad pounds on the door in the background. Sawyer's mom tells him to hide under the bed and not to come out no matter what he hears. Young Sawyer agrees, and his mom leaves to confront his father. There's more shouting, and a gunshot is heard. Sawyer's dad then opens the door, sits on the bed, and shoots himself, all while Sawyer watches from underneath the bed. It's just awful.
I know, poor little baby Sawyer.
Yeah.
So sad. He's so
It is.
cute, too.
He is cute.
What father would do that?
I know, it's so messed up.
Like, go into your child's room and that is the place where you decided you needed to shoot yourself.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't know Sawyer was there, but still,
But it's his room. Like,
yeah. Good point.
I mean, he's clearly not in his right state of mind, so.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah. I know I've said this before, but seeing something this awful when you're that age is just the start to so many serial killers, like their backgrounds. This is like usually the story that gets told. Something, they witness something terrible, you know? So it just makes me think, wow, he turned out okay.
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
you know?
pretty okay.
Yeah, he's still an asshole, but it could have been a lot worse.
It definitely could have. I mean, something like this would break all your trust in the world.
Yeah.
How could you ever trust anyone when your parent does this? Ugh. It's just so sad. And you're right. It's like amazing he comes back as well as he does.
Right. It's amazing he didn't go on to like become a serial killer. Like,
right.
I need to stop listening to all the murder podcasts I listen to.
I am listening to those too.
Really? Okay, good. I don't feel so crazy then.
Yeah, I've been watching this horrible, depressing series on Netflix called The Confession Tapes. And if anyone is listening to it or watches it, then you will know. It's so depressing.
I need to check that one out.
But yeah, poor baby Sawyer. That's pretty much all I wrote.
Yep. Same. On the island, Sawyer wakes up to the sounds of grunting and rustling. When he gets out his flashlight, he finds a large boar in his tent. Sawyer hits the boar, and it goes running off into the jungle with Sawyer chasing after it. The boar gets away, but alone in the jungle, Sawyer hears whispers coming from the trees, and we cut to the title scene.
Okay, so Jack has heard whispering.
Mm-hmm.
Saeed has heard whispering, and now Sawyer has. Are they the only three?
Yes. Yeah.
So Jack heard them while he was looking for his father, who was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Saeed heard it like after he left Rousseau, and Sawyer hears it chasing a boar.
Yeah. One of those things doesn't fit in with the other one.
I was trying to think if any of those three connect at all in any way, and it just doesn't feel like they do. I guess it's like at least Jack and Saeed are kind of emotional at the time. But I mean, you could say Sawyer is emotional too because he's angry, but I don't know. None of it really connects, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Like, it doesn't feel like he's, I mean, at this point in the episode, at that level of an emotional place to be hearing this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think Jack and Saeed never heard any actual words, right?
I can't remember. I don't think so either, because the stuff that Sawyer hears in this episode, it's pretty clear. So
yeah, it's very clear. Like, it whispers it'll come back around.
Right.
And he hears that multiple times. And then, of course, we hear Frank say,
right,
it'll come back around. So it's definitely intentional. But yeah, kind of interesting that he hears specific whispering.
Yeah, it's strange. I would love to have been in the writer's room when they were, when they made all these decisions of when to put the whispers in and, they're going to put in phrases. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's feeling more random than I expected it to be.
Yeah, same. The next morning, Sawyer is cleaning up the mess the boar left. Saeed comes over and asks about the incident, commenting that he thought the boar had left the area. He suggests that the boar might have wanted to go camping, and Sawyer is not amused. Before he leaves to go after the boar who took his tent, Sawyer asks Saeed what he heard in the jungle. He admits he heard whispering and asks Sawyer if he heard anything, but he denies it. I love Saeed in this scene.
He's so funny.
He is. He's having so much fun making fun of Sawyer.
Yeah. It's really funny to see how their relationship has progressed.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
They're now on terms where we can make fun of each other.
Right. When, in episode 2 or 3, they were beating the crap out of each other.
Right. It's also nice to see Saeed lighthearted.
Yeah, we don't get to see that very much.
No, he's always so serious.
Yeah. That could be another reason why Shannon is good for him, if you want to make that argument.
For sure, I'll make it. I also liked that Sawyer was, he called Saeed Mohammed at first. But then when he needed to ask him about the whispering, he had a serious question. He used Saeed's actual name. It's like that's his tip off for he's about to ask you something serious.
Yeah, I mean, baby steps here, but yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like he does that with other characters too.
Yeah.
Like when he needs to ask them something, not when he's not making fun of them, he'll use their actual names.
Right. He's not messing around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a flashback, Sawyer and some random women are making out in a hotel room. Before things can progress too quickly, the lights turn on and a man is sitting in a chair telling Sawyer he needs to talk to him. After he gets rid of the woman, Sawyer pushes the man, whose name is Hibbs, against the wall in a less than friendly way. Hibbs tells Sawyer he came to give him some information so that they'd be even after the Tampa job. Through one of his contacts, he was able to track down the man who killed Sawyer's parents. His name is Frank Duckett, and he runs a shrimp truck in Sydney. Hibbs also says Frank's last name used to be Sawyer, and that he was a former con artist. Sawyer looks through the file and pulls out a picture of Frank.
I really want to know what the Tampa job was.
Yeah.
Because Sawyer seems very traumatized by it. He was like, nothing can make up for the Tampa job.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to get the details on that too. Sounds serious.
When I first watched this and thought about this scene, I kind of couldn't believe that Sawyer would fall for it. But at the same time, I think in regard to this one man in particular,
right,
he is still kind of a child and he is out for revenge and he's just seeing red,
Yeah, that's a good point. Because you figure at this point he's obviously very good at what he does, conning people, and he's the one who gets conned in this episode. But
exactly.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's, potentially the man who killed his parents, that's his trigger.
Right. This is his one hot button issue. And Hibbs knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking advantage of it.
It makes me wonder, what did Hibbs... If I was Hibbs, I would hope and pray that Sawyer never found out the truth that Frank really wasn't his father. Because who knows what Sawyer would have done if he had come back. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. He is definitely taking a gamble there.
Yeah.
I don't know why he needs to go to Sawyer for this. It sounds like he has a lot of contacts, he seems very influential.
Right.
And so I mean, he literally says, we both know you ain't the killing type. Like, he expects Sawyer to not be the killing type, but thinks that maybe he will be if he thinks this is the man who murdered his parents. So why not just get someone who is the killing type to do this?
Yeah, it seems like he's going through a lot of trouble.
Right.
Strange.
And there's not any real explanation why, but I mean, we just don't have the full picture. So there could be a reason. We just don't know. I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Must be all about whatever happened at that Tampa job.
Right. Yeah. He's supposedly making up to Sawyer for the Tampa job. So he clearly screwed him over then too.
Yeah. What a jerk.
Who is this guy? How did you get acquainted with this man?
I want to know what his deal is. Kate is returning the gun to Jack that was loaned out in the previous episode. She asked Jack if anyone was curious where the guns came from, and Jack says people just assume the marshal was traveling alone on the plane. He mentions that he's gotten all the guns back except one, Sawyer's, of course. Kate insists she can get it back, telling Jack that they speak the same language. Jack reminds her that her plan was less than successful the last time she tried to get something from Sawyer. Jack says he doesn't want her to owe him anything. They're so cute. I love them.
They are cute, but I have questions.
Okay. What are your questions?
What was Kate borrowing the gun for?
What do you mean?
She, hands the gun back to him at the beginning, and she says, thanks for the loaner. So she was, borrowing it, right? That's what that sounds like.
Yeah, for the whole thing with Ethan.
But she wasn't allowed to have the gun.
That's true.
So I'm just confused.
Maybe...
Has she been holding on to it for an entire day since then? I'm confused about the situation.
Well, because in the last episode, Sawyer gave her the marshal's gun.
Right.
To use. So maybe...
So she's giving that gun to Jack. Right?
Right. Or maybe she switched guns with Sawyer, and so she's giving the gun that Jack loaned Sawyer back to Jack. I don't know.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack didn't want Kate to have a gun in the first place, and she's just all casual, here's my gun. It's so weird. I don't understand.
I mean, I think it was more he didn't want her to come with their little group when they were going to kill Ethan, or capture Ethan. But
right.
Yeah, fair point.
I just didn't understand what had happened. Did Kate, go out hunting this morning or something? What is she doing? But this is not the important crux of this conversation. I like Jack's responses here.
Uh-huh.
How he doesn't want Kate to be indebted to Sawyer in any way.
Yeah, he's so jealous.
He's so jealous. It is not worth the risk that she might kiss him again to get something.
Exactly. Clearly he's still thinking about that situation. So.
Yeah. Can't say I blame him. Especially when she's saying things like, oh, we speak the same language, me and Sawyer. I'd be like, okay.
I know.
Have fun.
Yeah, it's so interesting that she says that too. Because I feel like they're so similar, but I feel the chemistry more between her and Jack than I ever did with her and Sawyer. Even though she and Sawyer do have a lot more in common than her and Jack.
Yeah, I think they just connect in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's just a different kind of relationship with each of them.
Yeah, that's true.
I think when she says, she speaks the same language as Sawyer, she just means she understands him. And, she's kind of the only one, it seems like, who does seem to understand him. Or understand how to deal with him.
Right, who's willing to put in, the patience to deal with him.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's clearly, drawn to him and wanting to help him for some reason.
Yeah. Charlie is trying to put together something. I don't really know what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, I did not know in that scene, and then later I thought maybe it was something to bury Ethan with.
Oh, okay.
Like a shovel or something.
That makes sense. I couldn't. Charlie does things in this episode where I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. But anyway, he's trying to put something together when Claire walks over. She says she had some dreams or memories last night, which featured Charlie, and she asks him if he wants to go for a walk. Charlie declines quickly and says he has to do something. Claire does not look particularly convinced. This is kind of sad.
It is. It's very sad to watch Charlie push Claire away.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the last thing he wants.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's so interesting that Claire has so many dreams. I feel like Claire is very connected to kind of like this weird mystical world. Like,
oh, yeah.
She's always, she's got the fortune teller thing, and she's into her horoscopes, and she's having dreams. She's had a lot of dreams already.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why what happens to her later happens to her. Without giving it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. We will have to talk about that when that happens.
Yeah, much later. But yeah, I never really
enjoy the
picked up
suspense, y'all.
Yeah, I know. In the jungle, Sawyer finds his missing tent. He's walking back to the beach when he hears the whispers again. A boar comes running out of the jungle, and Sawyer abandons his tent and runs. But the boar knocks him into the mud, and he's pretty frustrated. I love the way he says son of a bitch at the end of this scene.
He is the master of delivering son of a bitch.
Yeah. No one says it like Sawyer says it. It's great.
I even hear other people say it on other shows, and I'm like, not as good.
Yep. Not the same.
It's not your phrase.
Despite Sawyer's protests, Kate is finding it hard to believe a boar attacked him from behind. Sawyer packs up his stuff and loads his gun, stating he's about to get his revenge. Kate tells him to just get Locke to kill the boar, and points out that he knows absolutely nothing about boar tracking. However, this is personal, and Sawyer leaves to begin the hunt.
Thank you, boar expert.
I love that line. It's great.
It's a funny scene.
Yeah, it's like an echo of the scene we had earlier with Saeed when he was, sitting back, being amused,
yeah.
And now Kate is the one who's like, looking at him like he's lost his mind.
Right. I like her poking his buttons.
Yeah.
It's like you find the Jack and Kate scene so adorable. I find this so adorable.
Do you?
I do. I like the kind of playful, sarcastic back and forth.
Yeah, I like them as friends. I like the sarcastic back and forth too. I feel like that's when they work the best for me, when they have scenes like this.
They're like camaraderie.
Yeah. Yeah, why couldn't they have just been friends?
Because they're both really hot.
Oh, whatever.
That never works, Randy.
So stupid. Okay. In a flashback, Sawyer arrives at the docks in Sydney, Australia. He finds a shady-looking guy who sells him a gun, telling him that he better not get caught because Australia doesn't allow citizens to carry handguns. The guy also tells him that with a gun like that, most people are looking to kill rather than to just scare or injure. He says if in the end Sawyer finds that he can't actually go through with committing the murder, there are no refunds. Sawyer assures him that this won't be a problem.
It's really interesting how many people tell him that he doesn't look like, or he doesn't seem like a killer.
Yeah.
If I'm that guy selling him that gun, I feel like maybe he is a killer.
Right. Yeah, especially, this guy maybe doesn't know the line of work Sawyer's in, but I would totally believe that he would be capable of this.
I don't know what it is that is making them say that he's not.
Yeah.
I wish that they kind of expanded on it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least with Hibbs, he, like, seems to know Sawyer. Like, he already knows about the con that he runs with the women. So he at least has some sort of information about him. So what does this guy who knows nothing about him, except that he's buying this super dangerous weapon, what is it about Sawyer that makes him think he's not a killer?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe this guy has people like Sawyer coming through his workshop or whatever all the time buying guns.
Right.
And they all have that same look on their faces that they're going to get revenge. And maybe for those guys, they never... they do end up backing out at the last moment. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, Josh Holloway is amazing all the time, but in this episode, I feel like he is very good at expressing this kind of hint of doubt in his eyes. Like, he seems nervous a lot.
Yeah, he definitely seems a little, not as confident as he usually does.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Hurley is helping Charlie bury Ethan's body, even though Charlie insists that it's his responsibility since he's the one who killed Ethan. Hurley worries about Ethan rising from the dead and chasing them, which, let's be honest, that's a very real possibility on this island.
So true.
Yeah. He then asks Charlie if he's okay, because Charlie is very obviously not okay, and Charlie does not respond.
I love that Hurley is not going to let Charlie do this alone.
I know. Their friendship is my favorite thing.
Yes. Hurley is such a great friend.
Yeah.
Charlie needs him. I was really distracted in this scene, though, by the horrible green screen going on. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I was like, oh, God. I just had to, like, listen.
Oh, I did not pick up on that at all. That's funny.
It's weird. It just, like, totally changes halfway through the scene. You're like, what's going on?
Oh, gosh. But yeah, only a true friend would help you bury the body of a guy you just murdered yesterday. So
that's how you know who your real friends are.
Yeah, guys.
Randy, would you help me bury a body?
Absolutely, Tiffany.
I don't think you would. I think you'd panic.
Well, I guess we'll never know. Hurley finds Saeed on the beach. He asks if he's ever had to deal with PTSD from the war. When Saeed asks him why, Hurley admits he's worried about Charlie. He suggests that Saeed go talk to him.
I do love that we're getting a very clear connection between Charlie and Sawyer and their reactions to killing somebody. The island happenings are completely relevant to Sawyer's story.
Yeah, it's a nice connection.
It's almost like more direct than I'm used to. I'm like, whoa.
Right. We don't have to search for it this week.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel forced, like Charlie's would be going through this.
Yeah.
And that's something that Sawyer has just gone through.
Right.
And something that Saeed went through a long time ago.
Yeah, it kind of checks all those boxes off. It's well done.
Saeed's a seasoned killer.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me like this episode a little bit more. The fact that it's all connected pretty strongly that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tied up neatly with a little bow.
Mm-hmm. Sawyer is doing his very best to track the boar through the jungle when Kate finds him. She tells him he's terrible at tracking, pointing out that he's managed to follow the tracks of pretty much everyone except the boar. Kate offers to help, but only if she gets carte blanche, meaning that whenever she wants anything from Sawyer's stash, she gets it with no questions asked. Sawyer reluctantly agrees.
He must really want this boar.
Yeah, because that's a big thing to agree to.
That's a big thing. He's agreed to give her anything from his stash at any time.
Mm-hmm. And he has, like everything from the luggage. He has everything.
Right. Yeah. I was surprised he would agree to this.
Yeah, but it's Kate, so.
Yeah, it is Kate. And Kate is the one who, even before this agreement, when she would ask him for things, he usually just gave it to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's not too much of a leap.
Yeah, that's true.
But still, Kate also seems to like serve as Jack's representative a lot. So this is in effect a deal for Jack as well.
Yeah, that's also true.
Sawyer should know that.
Yeah, that should be very obvious.
Yeah, he must know that.
I also love how both Jack and Sawyer just suck at tracking so much. And Kate is like constantly having to come in and be like, all right, let me help you out since you're so terrible at this.
Right. It was very smart of the show writers to give Kate this skill because it gives her a reason to always be a part of this adventuring stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it gives her like, agency. She's not just always like, it gives her something to do. So
yeah, I love Sawyer's obsession. It's so passionate. He needs this boar and he does not care about anything. He doesn't care about, first of all, his tracking skills, but he doesn't care if Kate comes or if she doesn't come. Like he needs to do this.
Yeah, it's weird because, I mean, up to this point, this is probably the most effort he's put into doing anything on this island.
Yeah.
If he's not antagonizing people, he's usually just lounging around, trading sunscreen or whatever else he has with people.
Right.
So it's strange.
So we're obviously supposed to think of this boar, at least by the end, as more than a boar.
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out when Sawyer started thinking of the boar as more than a boar.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because he seems pretty angry from the beginning.
Right.
But then I guess it just snowballs into this other thing. Like,
yeah, I feel like at this point, he still thinks of it as only a boar.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, like I just said, he seems overly enthused about finding this boar and killing it.
Right. Super enthused and super reckless. And Kate, she said she doesn't care what Sawyer does. And he's like, good, I don't care. And he just like trumps off into the jungle because he's just so focused on the boar. It's so weird.
Yeah. I don't think it's properly motivated, to be honest, but
I mean, are we supposed to think he's freaked out by the whispering?
Maybe. But then you would think he would want to stay away from the jungle.
That never seems to be what anyone does.
I guess. God, if I was on this island, I would never go into the jungle if I heard that even one time or heard people talking about that. I'd be like, nope, that's not enough jungle for me. No, thank you.
I kind of wish they had done what they did with Christian and Jack and made this be Frank instead of a boar.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better.
And you wouldn't even have to reveal who he is until the end.
Yeah.
But then it would make way more sense. And I don't know.
Yeah, I guess if they had done that, it would have been so similar to White Rabbit.
That's what I was just thinking too. But it is so similar to White Rabbit.
Yeah.
They just traded out a human for a boar.
Right.
And
doesn't make sense.
Right. By doing that, there's this gap in motivation.
Yeah. I agree.
I guess it gives us our nice comedic moments from Saeed and Kate, though, to make fun of him.
Which I do appreciate. That night, Sawyer pulls out a bottle of alcohol, proving once and for all, in my opinion, that he really is a selfish bastard since Jack was totally looking for the liquor cart to help patients, I'm sure.
Psh. It's worth it for this scene.
I guess. Anyway, Kate asks for a drink, and Sawyer insists they play a game of I Never. They take turns stating things that they never did and drink accordingly. Things start out pretty playful, with things like I never went to Disneyland and I never wore pink. We find out that Sawyer's never been in love and that Kate's been married, but it didn't last very long. The game ends when Sawyer says I never killed a man and they both drink. meaning that they've both killed someone.
I love this scene.
It's a good scene.
I didn't know if you would hate this or like it.
I mean, I don't love it, but it's interesting. They definitely have this connection that as much as I want to, I can't deny.
They do. They have kind of a kindred spirit thing going on.
Yeah.
I like this scene because it hits the gambit of like everything you want a scene like this to be. Like there's like fun, joking, like they're just having a good time with each other and laughing, which is always rare on this show.
Yeah, for anyone.
But then we learn a lot about who they are. Like very quickly, we learn some huge things about Kate and about Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it ends like so darkly and on the most ominous note it possibly could.
Yeah.
I just think it's so great. And they're so great in this scene, like both the actors.
Yeah, they do a good job. I mean, at this point though, we're still assuming that only Jack and Hurley know that she's the criminal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Sawyer has always alluded to her being darker. Like, it's like he's always kind of known something about her.
Yeah, but like, I'm not sure because I forget what line. There's some line in the scene where Sawyer says something about Kate being an outcast on the island just like him. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this before, and Kate never really seems like an outcast. Certainly not in the way Sawyer's an outcast on the island. Like, she talks to Claire, she talks to Sun, she's got friends, she seems to fit in pretty well. I mean, no one knows her secret really but Jack. But whenever Sawyer makes this connection, I'm like, but it's not really the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it when he uses the word outcast because that's not quite right. Yeah. She's not an outcast.
Right.
But, like, there are other times where he says, like, you and me were not like them. And I can understand that much better because that I can see being true because, you know, Kate's, it's hard because we don't have Kate's story.
I know, I keep
but
forgetting
I know
that.
What Kate's story
exactly.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they do both have this kind of dark past, very painful past that they are connecting over, and they both see it in each other without even knowing what the other person, like, he doesn't know she's a criminal, but he knows who she is.
Yeah, I just wish I mean, look, we all know I'm no fan of Kate and Sawyer together, but I feel like people always use the fact that they're both outcasts as like a validation for why they belong together. And the show, some episodes of the show seem to be like trying to insist the same thing. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, but they're not the same. It's not the same thing. You know what I mean? It's endlessly frustrating to me whenever they bring that up.
I think they are similar.
Yeah.
And I think that is their kind of path to each other. They connect through this pain that they both have. Mm-hmm. And it's this kind of thing that they feel like nobody else can understand. So I get why people feel that way. Like that they just understand each other in a way that other people can't. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that means they belong together. Yeah. But it makes sense why they would be drawn to each other.
Yeah, it makes sense to me why they would be, at the very least, you know, good friends.
Good friends, you wish.
Oh, Lord. I'm thinking about some episodes we're going to do in the future. I don't know. I'm just not going to be here that week when we talk about those episodes.
Randy's going to call out sick on those weeks.
Can't do it, guys. Sorry.
This is probably my favorite scene in the episode.
Is it? Record.
Yeah, it's just fun.
It's a good one. It's not my favorite scene.
It's one of those scenes where I can't look away because something fun or intense is going to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely very memorable. I always remember this scene in this episode.
Yeah. You're right. This is the scene I think of when I think of this episode.
Me too. Sawyer is again dreaming of the night he saw his father kill his mother and then himself, only this time the boar makes an appearance. He wakes up to find that the campsite has been trashed and there are boar tracks everywhere. The boar apparently ate all of Sawyer's food but left Kate's alone. Locke comes strolling by, looking for salvage from the crash. Sawyer's still pissed about the boar, and Kate jokingly suggests that maybe it doesn't like his scent, or the cologne he wears. At this point, story time with Locke begins.
I wrote the same thing.
Did you?
It's time for more stories from Grandpa Locke.
Of course. What else would be happening right now? He tells a story about how his sister Jeannie died after a fall when they were younger. He says his foster mother blamed herself and became very depressed. One day, a golden retriever showed up out of nowhere. It slept in Jeannie's old room until the mom died, and then it disappeared. Locke says his mom thought that the dog was Jeannie, and it came to tell her that the accident wasn't her fault. He ends the story with one of his trademark smiles. This whole scene is just quintessential Locke.
It is.
You know what I mean? So him.
I love it so much. I love Sawyer's face when Locke launches into this story. He looks at Kate like, what is this dude going on about? And she's like, I don't know.
Also the fact that the whole time he's talking, he's making coffee and like pouring it in teacups and giving it to Sawyer and Kate. It's so funny.
It's just another day for Locke in the jungle, having a great morning.
I mean, he's endlessly fascinating.
He really is. The thing I love most about him in this scene is that he hasn't been a part of whatever is going on with Sawyer at all.
Right.
But he steps in and immediately knows what's going on. And he knows Sawyer's deal. And it's weird.
It is weird. It's so weird. Like, what is he trying to tell Sawyer with this story?
He's trying to help him release his past. I think that's what he's trying to do for everybody.
I mean, yeah, he's done it for so many characters at this point.
When he's telling that story, he looks at Sawyer with this very super knowing look in his eye.
Yeah.
And he's describing his mom and the dog, and, you know, he says it was her way of knowing the accident wasn't her fault to let her off the hook. And he's just like looking at Sawyer in such a way that he wants him to know that it wasn't his fault.
But
you know,
how
like,
would he know that?
There's no way he should know this, but he's Locke, so he does. Like, that smile, and even Kate, like, looks at Locke like, oh my gosh, how did you know?
Right.
You know? That scene is just full of so many meaningful looks.
It is.
If you haven't watched it recently, guys, you need to go back and watch it, because it is amazing, especially when you know what has happened and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that scene until I watched it again yesterday.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know what to make of Locke at this point. I just don't. I never know what he's going to say or do or say or how he knows things. It's just crazy.
It's also crazy how he is just dropping these tiny little bombs through his casual conversation about what a dark, terrible past he has.
Yeah.
His sister broke her neck on the monkey bars as a child. Like, what? His mother, his foster mother, blamed herself. So we know he was an orphan. And then he said that his mom died 5 years later.
Right. I mean, how much can you put a child through? Like,
right. Like, we already know his adult life kind of sucked.
Right.
Well, not kind of. We know it really sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And just casually dropping all this information about his childhood, it is no wonder he is having the time of his life here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. I want to say so many things, but I don't want to give anything away. So,
well, and this is exactly what he did in White Rabbit with Jack.
Yeah, it's like to the T almost exactly.
It's Locke's mission to help everybody let go of their past and the things that burden them and live in the present here on the island.
Yes, which is a great mission to have. Just don't drug them with paste you make up and leave them for dead in the middle of the jungle. That's all I'm asking, Locke. It's not too much to ask.
Yeah, that was pretty odd strategy.
Yeah, it was.
Though effective.
Sure.
He's been nothing but effective so far.
Oh, Locke, we're gonna have, I mean, in the episodes coming up, we're gonna have such interesting conversations about him. I can't wait.
Yes, oh, we so are. The other thing I wrote about this scene, because there's so much that happens in this scene, was that we start with Sawyer dreaming again, and it makes me wonder if Sawyer dreams about this every night.
I know. How awful is that? God.
Because, you know, pretty much every night in this episode he does, and it's so sad.
He can't dream about this every night. That would drive anyone crazy.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Okay, so the golden retriever in Locke's story is supposed to be like a manifestation of his sister, or not, you know.
Right.
There's, like, that would not be in this episode if we weren't supposed to see the boar as a manifestation of someone else too, right?
Right. And it's gotta be Frank, right?
Yeah, well, I was kind of tossed up between Frank and the actual killer of Sawyer's parents.
Okay.
Either one, I guess it doesn't really matter, but either one would be aggressive. I think Frank is probably a better bet since he's hearing Frank's words in the whispering.
Right. And I feel like the fact that he doesn't kill the boar in the end is kind of his way of saying sorry for killing Frank, maybe?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess, but it's still, I feel like the metaphor is still a little weak.
I definitely agree. It's very weird.
In a flashback, Sawyer, who's carrying his gun, finds the shrimp truck in Australia. The guy working the truck asks for Sawyer's order, and after a few tense moments, Sawyer answers. The guy starts talking while he makes the food, asking where Sawyer's from, and if he's been in Australia long. The man introduces himself as Frank, and Sawyer says his name is James. He's clutching the gun the entire time, but in the end, he can't bring himself to kill Frank and walks away.
All the acting awards right here. He's so good.
Yeah, he does a good job.
His shaking hand.
Yeah, and we finally, I think this is the first time we learn his name is actually James. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I wrote too. I think that is the first time we hear it. Though Hurley should know it from the manifest.
Yep. He sure should. Yeah, it's hard to think of him as anything other than Sawyer, even though that's not his real name.
Yeah, I know some people who really love him refer to him as James, but he's always Sawyer to me.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Sawyer suits him.
Mm-hmm. Sawyer finds himself in a bar, empty except for one other man. The guy says he's misplaced his wallet, and Sawyer buys him a drink. It turns out that this guy is Christian Shepherd, Jack's dad. He asks Sawyer what he's doing in Australia, and Sawyer replies, business. Christian admits to thinking he's in hell, but accepting that some people just have to suffer. It's why the Red Sox will never win the series. Christian says he used to be the chief of surgery and mentions that he has a son who's a good man and does what's in his heart. He says he feels grateful for what Jack did for him, admitting that it took courage. He says he could call Jack and tell him this, fixing everything, but he won't because he's weak. He tells Sawyer that if his business in Sydney will ease his suffering, he should take care of it. Otherwise, he'll end up just like him. We get a shot of Frank in his truck, and Sawyer has returned and is loading his gun. I love this scene. It's my favorite in this episode.
I was just gonna say, this is your favorite.
It is. It's so good. They're both so good in this scene.
Yeah, it is also a really great scene.
Just the connection between the two of them is, oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I remember the impact of watching this the first time. Whoa, that's Christian.
Yeah.
You know?
Such a crazy coincidence.
And how ironic for him to show up in the episode that we keep saying is just like White Rabbit.
Right. That's a good point.
But man, Christian drops so many things on Sawyer.
Yeah.
He's a quotable dude.
And it's hard to remember. I like him in the scene. It's hard to remember what a terrible father and person he is.
Yeah, he is likable in this scene. And I think part of that is that he understands Jack very well. And we said that in the last time we saw him too. But understanding Jack for who he is as a good person and commending him for what he's done.
Right. Which is like, oh, if you could have just told him that one time, maybe things would have been so different. Oh, man.
What do you make of some of this crazy stuff he says to Sawyer, where he's like, Sawyer basically doesn't say very much to Christian. Mm-hmm. He just seems to look at him and know his whole story. But he's like, you are in hell too. You're suffering. This is fate. Some people are just supposed to suffer. Like, something about him, he just digs into like the big stuff right away.
Yeah, he does. And it's almost like in a Locke-like way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, how do you know all this?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? And he's very drunk, so I guess that's part of it.
Right. I feel like when I first watched this episode, I just attributed it to the fact that he was, you know, he's an alcoholic, so he's obviously had a lot to drink at this point. But yeah, some of the stuff he says is like dead on.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're supposed to see some sort of connection between them. Like they're both suffering right now.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what it is that will ease Sawyer's suffering. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. I always wonder, would Sawyer have done what he does if he had not had this conversation with Christian?
Oh, that's such a good question.
'Cause he really tells him, he's like, if you don't do what you need to do, you're going to end up like me.
Right.
And then that's when Sawyer goes off and actually kills him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the tipping point for him. I don't think he would have done it if he hadn't had this conversation with Christian.
Yeah. That seemed to be what we're supposed to take away. I mean, this whole episode, everyone keeps saying, Sawyer's not a killer. Sawyer's not a killer.
Yeah.
And then Christian's like, hey, you better do that killing thing. Sawyer's like, all right.
That's just crazy to think that Jack's dad is the reason that he murdered that guy. Or, you know, one of the reasons, I guess. But
yeah, it is. It's interesting to think that both he and Jack are on this island suffering because of Christian.
Yeah. They should be best friends. They shouldn't be fighting. They should be bonding over this.
You guys, you both got screwed by the same guy.
Seriously. Oh, now I want them to be friends.
Maybe they will be, Randy. You never know.
We'll see. But yeah, I love that scene. It's brilliant.
The things he says connect to Charlie really well, too. Mm-hmm. Charlie thought that it would ease his suffering if he killed Ethan. And then he wouldn't have to worry about Claire anymore. But now, here he is, suffering anyway.
Yeah. Killing people doesn't solve problems, guys. To your advice
Moral of the story.
Yep. On the beach, Saeed approaches Charlie, who's preparing some kind of fruit. I think he's like shelling coconuts, if you can shell coconuts.
Yeah.
Okay. I always get so distracted when I watch a scene, because I'm like, what are you doing, Charlie?
He's like breaking the coconuts in half with the spiky thing. Because coconuts are really hard to open. I've tried.
Really? Okay. I've never tried, so I'm always like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I do always worry that he's going to stab his hand or something.
Yeah.
Don't impale yourself.
It's very violent. Anyway, Saeed states that Charlie killed a man, and Charlie replies that Ethan deserved to die and that he has no regrets. Saeed tells him a story about the guilt he felt after he helped to execute a man in Iraq, even though the person deserved it. He says that what happened with Ethan will be with Charlie for the rest of his life and that he's not alone.
I love this.
Yeah, me too. They should have more scenes together.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice for Saeed to come in and lend his expertise to Charlie.
Yeah.
I guess it's not that killing is bad. It's that you kind of, I mean, that sounds so wrong. But like, Saeed and Charlie had reasons to do what they did.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't just murdering someone for no reason. But I guess what they're saying here is that you have to handle your response to it.
Yeah, or that it won't automatically make everything better. It won't make everything okay right away.
Right. And you can't just pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he tells Charlie. You're not alone. Don't pretend to be.
Mm-hmm. In the jungle, Sawyer and Kate are still tracking the boar. They come across a wallow, or a den where the boar sleeps. They hear squealing in the bushes, and Sawyer grabs a baby boar. He holds it up to try and lure the bigger boar back home. Kate is not amused, kicks Sawyer in the shins, and the baby boar gets away. She informs Sawyer that he can find his own way home. He's so annoying in this scene.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It is. It's unnecessary.
It does seem unnecessary. It's obviously not going to work.
Right.
My note for this scene is, Kate really is a boar expert now. She had some serious boar knowledge. She's like, oh, that's a wallow, and this is where it, like, puts its tusks when it's, like, hitting the tree. And you're like, what?
Yeah. She's obviously
Where did you learn all this?
Been studying in Locke's boar school.
Yeah.
Back in Australia, in the pouring rain, Sawyer comes upon Frank by his truck. He pulls out his gun and shoots him in the chest. Sawyer then pulls out the letter he wrote when he was a kid, but Frank doesn't know anything about that. Apparently he borrowed money from Hibbs, and Hibbs used Sawyer's desire for revenge to get him to kill Frank. Frank says he would have paid Hibbs and tells Sawyer that it'll come back around before he dies.
So, how culpable is Sawyer in all this?
That's a good question.
I feel like that is the question for this act.
Yeah.
Because we've made it really clear up in this episode that he is not a killer. Something about him is not a killer. Maybe he doesn't want to be a killer, but he is. He kills this guy.
Yeah.
He pulls the trigger. You ultimately can't put that on anybody else, but he was definitely influenced to do this by two other guys at least.
Yeah.
So Hibbs gives him all this incorrect information about who this man is. I don't know. Would this have been okay if it had been the guy who killed his parents?
Yeah, but I feel like Sawyer, I sympathize with him, but he should have made sure that this was the right guy before. Like, when he shoots Frank, and then he pulls out the letter to start reading it, like, in my mind, those two things should have been reversed, you know?
Yeah, I think it's what he wants it to be the last thing that he hears.
Right, but who's to say that Frank wouldn't have died, like, immediately after he got shot? You know? He might not have had that extra 2 minutes for Sawyer to read him the letter.
Right, true. Yeah, I thought about that. I think that's why he doesn't shoot him, like, in the head or anything. But it called back to him shooting the marshal.
Yeah.
Shoot him in the chest.
Oh, Sawyer. But yeah, I mean, I think he's responsible.
Yeah, he definitely is. And I feel he was pressured into it by lies, essentially, but it's on him.
Yeah.
That he did this.
It is.
But I don't think I would think there was anything wrong if this had been the guy who killed his parents.
No, I wouldn't either. That would have felt justified to me.
Yeah.
But this is just some random guy who, I mean, for all we know, he just owes this Hibbs guy money. He might not have ever done anything else in his life, so.
Right. Seemed like a real nice guy with his shrimp tacos or whatever he was selling.
Seemed pretty chill out there in Sydney, so.
It's kind of crazy that we would forgive Sawyer if this had been his parents' killer. Because if I met someone in real life and they killed someone who had killed their parents, I'd be like, I don't really need to be your friend anymore. That's not okay.
I don't know if I'd say that. But
wait, you wouldn't care if someone in real life had done that?
I mean, I would care, but if they had told me some horrible story about how that person had been responsible for their dad killing their mom and then shooting himself, I'd be like, all right, that's, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe that's not good.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard because it is completely understandable. And, you know, if I'm watching a character on a show, I'm like, yes, for sure, like, get that guy, you know?
Yeah.
In real life, I don't think I would handle it quite the same. I don't think I would want to associate with someone who was capable of that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think just knowing that Sawyer witnessed this when he was 8 years old and he's had to live with this for almost his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't begrudge someone for going after that person and killing them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
sure.
know if I'd be BFFs with them, but I feel like I get it.
All right, murderers out there. You got a friend in Randi.
Yeah, if you're listening, hit me up. We can talk.
It's our big demographic for our podcast.
Yeah. Also, please don't do that because I'm terrified I'm going to get murdered every day. So
That's why it's kind of surprising that you said that.
I know. I don't know. I feel like whenever I watch TV shows or read books or watch movies and there's a person who's, you know, getting revenge on someone who's done something pretty significant to ruin their life, I'm always like much more like, yeah, do it, kill them. But then in real life, you know, real life is obviously a little different, but
yeah. Well, it's because it feels like justice.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, like you've wronged like Sawyer so much. You deserve to die.
Right. Right. And you know, like sometimes, like I guess the other option would be like turning these people into the police, but you know, sometimes like they could not get punished or go to jail for 2 years and get out. And, you know, it's not really justice in those cases.
And I mean, the beautiful thing about Lost is that so much of this conflict happens on the island.
Right.
And you can say, well, there is no justice system here.
Exactly. It's like not even, doesn't feel like a real place half the time. So
Yeah. It helps with all these gray area dilemmas that we have.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Because there's some stuff that happens later, which in the real world would be not at all okay. But on the island, it's like, yeah, that's fine. It's totally justifiable.
Just another Tuesday.
Yep. Back in the jungle, Sawyer is wandering around lost, calling for Kate. He sees the boar who's been giving him so much trouble and pulls out his gun. He aims at the boar, but in the end, lets it get away. Kate is watching from the background, and Sawyer says to her that it's just a boar and that they should get back to camp. So, yeah, this scene, the way he stares at that boar, and it's so tense, and Kate's looking on from the background, and then he decides not to shoot it. I'm just rolling my eyes the whole time, like, really? This isn't... What are you doing? It's an animal. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come across as intense as they're trying to make it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like their performances are the only thing that makes it intense.
Yeah.
I guess it's about the intention. So it would have been an act of like anger and revenge and frustration. So the fact that he doesn't do it is supposed to be like a moral triumph for him. But I totally get what you're saying. Like, this is a boar who, like, up till now, we've been hunting boar, no problem. This is not an ethical issue.
Right. It's just an animal. So I can see where they were going, but the metaphor doesn't quite work for me, I think.
Yeah. I think if it had been, like, the vision of Frank, like we were talking about earlier, this would have been so much more profound.
Yeah. I agree. I would have liked it a lot more.
Definitely have mixed feelings on this scene too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Sawyer doesn't do it because I feel like the way they've built up this boar and seeing it as a symbol of, you know, this innocent life that he took.
Yeah.
It is nice to see him say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. That was just a mistake that I made one time.
Right.
In that way, it is good. But yeah, if you just look at this literally, like if somebody walked in and had missed the first half of this episode, they'd be like, why is he not killing that food?
Right, exactly. Like, what is happening? Why are things so intense right now?
Where's Locke with his knife?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. And I don't know, I mean, Kate's watching in the background, so I'm not really sure what she's thinking about this.
She clearly doesn't want him to do it.
Right.
It's as if she knows what's going on in his head with his backstory, but she doesn't.
Right. How could she? I mean, I know they have this connection, but he hasn't explicitly told her, hey, so I accidentally killed a man, an innocent man in Australia a month ago.
I mean, I think she does grasp that this has become some sort of weird personal vendetta for him.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing with the little baby pig pissed her off, so I guess she's just, like, glad that he's not making the situation worse. I don't know. It's so weird.
It is so weird. It's just, yeah, like you said, if this had been done the same way it was done in White Rabbit, it would have meant a lot more, I think.
Yeah.
On the beach, Claire watches as Walt plays with Vincent and Michael continues to build his raft. Charlie approaches her and asks her to take that walk. And they stroll off down the beach together.
Yay!
Yeah. Thank God they have each other.
Thank God Charlie didn't wallow for too long.
Mm-hmm. It's nice.
He did enough of that while Claire was gone.
Yeah, definitely. In the last scene, Sawyer finds Jack, who is cutting up firewood. After some joking around, which Jack does not find very funny.
I did.
I didn't. He hands his gun back to Jack. Jack asks what Kate gave him so that he would give up the gun, and Sawyer says nothing she wasn't willing to part with. Jack replies, that's why the Sox will never win the series. When Sawyer asks him to explain, he says it's something his dad used to say. According to Jack, his dad blamed fate for his problems instead of taking any responsibility. Sawyer asks if Jack's dad was also a doctor, and Jack says yes, and that he's dead. When Jack asks why Sawyer's so interested, Sawyer says no reason and walks away. I love this so much.
Yeah. It is really good.
Yeah, it's such a good note to end the episode on, in my opinion. Like, my favorite things in this episode are the scenes with Christian and then, you know, this further scene with Jack. It's just so interesting.
It is fun to watch the light bulb go off in Sawyer's head.
Yeah, he plays that so well. Oh, it's so good.
It definitely makes me start wondering how connected these people are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is where that all begins, I feel like.
Yeah, because we haven't gotten a whole lot of connections outside the island so far.
Right.
But we'll definitely get some more after this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame Sawyer for not telling Jack at that point, you know?
Yeah, I don't either. I think I would definitely be processing that for a minute, because I do think that his conversation with Christian was a catalyst for him actually murdering that guy.
Right.
So he's going to have really complicated feelings about figuring this out.
Yeah, and then now knowing the fact that Christian is dead, and that Jack obviously, I mean, you can tell from the scene that he never really resolved. His father obviously never made that call to Jack before he died, telling him that he was a good person. So
yeah. Sawyer does know that his dad is dead, right? Does he?
Yeah,
Does he know that?
Jack says that in the scene.
Oh, okay.
He says, yeah, and is like when Sawyer asked Jack if Jack's dad was a doctor, Jack says yes, and that he's dead.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, they both the actors, and they play off each other so well. Oh, it's so good. I love it.
It's a great note to end it on.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's, as usual with Lost, it's just opening the door to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you feel like are the Outlaws? Because that's the title of the episode. Who are the Outlaws in this episode? I feel like there are so many references to killers. Like, they use that word specifically. So there's that. There's just the people who have killed. Charlie is now one of them. And there's Sawyer and Kate, who talk about, you know, not being like everybody else here on the island.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, again, I don't think Kate is as much of an outlaw, I guess, or an outcast as Sawyer believes her to be, but definitely Sawyer and Charlie seem like the outlaws in this episode.
I think Kate is, by definition, an outlaw because she is the criminal.
Right. I guess just looking at, you know, looking at how they behave on the island, it seems like at this point, Sawyer and now Charlie, because of what happened with Ethan, are kind of distancing themselves more than the others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder if when Kate goes to Sawyer, she is distancing herself from others by doing that.
Yeah, that's possible.
Never really thought of it that way, but... So what was your themaroo?
Well, I feel like we kind of already talked about it earlier, but I was thinking I feel like there's a lot of themes you could kind of pull out from this episode.
There are. I wrote 6 till I decided on one.
What? Oh my God.
It was really hard.
Jesus. Did not do that. The one that stuck out to me the most was the idea that holding on to something like revenge is never a good idea, and that it's always just better to let things go. Like, it's always healthier. Like, we see, you know, Sawyer's obviously holding on to that letter he wrote to his, you know, the con artist who conned his parents when he was a child.
Right.
And you can make the argument that because he was so focused on getting his revenge for years and years, it kind of allowed him to be conned by Hibbs, and he ended up killing Frank, who was innocent.
Yeah. And then Sawyer had to deal with the burden of that decision.
Right. Exactly. And it makes me think that if he had kept, I guess, pursuing the boar on the island, or if he had killed it, then, you know, the consequences would not have been good. But instead, he's able to let it go at the end. So
right. I mean, that's really similar to the one that I decided on.
Okay.
We're getting so in sync.
I know. I love it.
I wrote, how do we deal with our guilt?
Okay.
And I think I went that direction because that's what Sawyer and Charlie are kind of wrestling with in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sawyer, obviously, for killing that innocent man and, you know, carrying that guilt with him. And I don't know if this is true or not, but, you know, so many kids, when something bad happens to their parents, they feel a guilt about that. Like there's something they could have done. Mm-hmm. And I just always kind of get that sense from him, even though I don't feel like they ever explicitly say anything like that.
You get that sense that Sawyer feels guilty for what happened to his parents?
Not like directly, but just kind of in that weird, indirect, like psychological way that kids have.
Yeah.
And just always kind of like, I don't know, just the way he keeps dreaming about it. I mean, obviously he's traumatized, but
yeah,
he's definitely feeling in so much guilt in this episode, and he keeps thinking about that. So, I don't know. It's a weak connection, I think. I think I'm taking a little bit of a leap, but...
No, I like that. And I like how, yeah, Charlie is also, like you said, feeling guilty about what happened with Ethan.
Yeah. And I feel like Sawyer learns to make the right decision at the end, and Charlie learns to like connect with Claire and let his connection with people, you know, heal him.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what's the ongoing struggle Sawyer's having is connecting with others.
Right.
Like he can connect with Kate because he senses like something bad in her that he feels in himself. But for him to connect with like the community, that's what will actually help him move on.
Yeah, it's like that connection he's missing and also not actively working toward his own destruction. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like Saeed was saying, if you are alone, like that's when you're going to feel it. Like you have to stop pretending that you are alone. And I think that's what Charlie learned to do quickly and what Sawyer is slowly learning to do.
Yeah, very slowly.
I think Charlie had a firmer foot in his community beforehand, so that helped.
Yes, Sawyer takes a very slow journey through that. Like looking ahead. I feel like he'll take 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. And it's frustrating for a long time, at least for me. But
yeah, he definitely has a struggle. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We got through a whole Sawyer episode without yelling at each other.
I know.
I feel like we agreed on almost everything.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna...
What's going on?
Yeah, I know. I thought we were gonna have a lot more arguments about it, but...
Well, there's not a lot of Jack, so I guess that helps.
All right.
And the Jack we get is great.
Yeah, I think so.
So, there are no issues to be had.
Yeah, again, this is not one of my favorite episodes, and I feel like the Boar metaphor is very weak, but I do like the scene with Christian and the connection we get between Sawyer and Jack. I find that just really, really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of interesting moments. The Boar thing is weird. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the vehicle for a lot of other great moments.
Yeah.
But it's Sawyer, so I always enjoy spending time with him, no matter how weird it gets.
Of course you do. Yeah, he wasn't nearly as annoying in this episode, so props to Sawyer, I guess.
You're gonna win her over eventually, Sawyer.
Yeah, slowly but surely. We'll see.
By season 6, you're gonna love him.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's going to do it for this week's episode. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. We will love you forever if you do. We promise. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook, or you can visit our website at thelostpodcast.com. Don't forget to join us next week when we'll be discussing episode 17, which is called In Translation. And that episode is all about Jin.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, that's a great episode from what I remember. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that one.
I'm excited. We need time with Jin.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it. I'm Randi.
I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.
Yeah, I hadn't picked up on it either, really. I can't talk tonight. Something's wrong with me. My brain has disconnected.
I feel that way too. You're fine.
I'm still wondering what I was trying to say earlier. Thank God for editing.
Yeah, for real.